We're doing live. Hello, hello, hello. How are you?
Hello.
Good. Welcome to our Lunch and Learn today. Let's see if we get this started. I'm going to share it now. So give me 1 second.
All right.
Let's see. And I'm gonna attempt to tag you in it. There we go.
Perfect.
All right.
Share this with my mom and sister and friends.
Please do. So thank you for joining us today on this Lunch and Learn. For those who do not know me, I am Dr. Maria Graham. I'm a pharmacist by trade, but I'm a lifelong learner on purpose. So I like to do Lunch and Learns, a different type of interviews with everyone to just see what they're doing in life and how they're doing in life and how we can empower and inspire other people to do the same. And so today I'm so excited because I have my church member here. I have a lifelong learner friend, Victoria Pittman, and we're going to talk about the certified truth, why certifications matter. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh my goodness, it's such an honor for me to be here. I can't wait to share and talk with you about certifications.
Yes, I'm excited. I've been waiting for this all week. I'm like,
me too. Oh, I'm excited.
So let's start off here. Tell me about yourself. Just give me a little brief info.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do, I have a presentation up. I want to share with you the whole person. So Victoria Pittman, I have my PMP titles there, but who am I? So I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend. I love superhero movies and sci-fi. I'm a dynamic leader. I'm a businesswoman, and I have 15 years or over 15 years of big bank experience. I'm able to create structures out of chaos, and I'm a certified project manager professional, or PMP. So that's a little bit about me.
Yes, I love it. So let me back up for 1 second. You I like to create structure out of chaos. I love that.
Yes. It's, I noticed that when, I was younger, it was just a natural talent that I had, and learning how to organize people or processes. It's just something that I noticed with myself. And so I saw that in the business world too. So I like to put that in there. Like, who am I? I can create frameworks.
Yes. So tell me in your process of getting your project management or becoming a project management professional, what inspired you to do that?
I was in a place in my career. I had about 10 years of finance experience, and I was able to transition out of finance into a role where I did some analytics with Microsoft Excel and reports, but I wasn't really happy with that. So I found a mentor, and we took about a year, and we just talked about my talents, my gifts, just really kind of processing who I was. And I just had to look at my just things that I like to do. And so it just kind of came at the end of that year. I realized, I said, I really love event planning. I enjoy, like I said, creating structures, and I love people. And so that's when it kind of came about. I said, you know what? I think I want to be a project manager. I think that'll transition nicely from things that I like to do in my personal time to something that I can do in the corporation that I'm in. And so I let my executive know, like, hey, I think this is something I would like to do. And so when some org changes happened, they put me in a change management group. And then I started the process of getting a certification in PMP. I decided to put a ring on it and marry it.
I love it. And I love the thing that you said, that you sought out a mentor.
I did.
Really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that now because I'm in a transition in my own professional career. Want to get more into the backside of healthcare. And I realized the importance of having a mentor to help you walk through the process. So and I know we're talking about certifications, but I want to stop here because somebody might want to know, how did you get a mentor? Where did you go?
So, I'm always just open to going to network events. And it just so happened, this was the only time at this company where they had a holiday celebration with all the different employee networks. And I just kind of took a chance and I just started to talk to different people who honestly had a friendly face. And one of the ladies was there, and we just started to talk, and we had a lot of things in common. She just so happened to be an executive, and I was sharing with her where I was in terms of my career. And she says, Victoria, if you're looking for someone to just talk to and just kind of let it out and we can kind of figure it out together, I could be that person for you. And so I just appreciated that. And so I would just have coffee with her every 6 to 8 weeks for a year for 30 minutes and just kind of talk about where I was, what I was thinking. And she listened and maybe she provided some insight. And that's how I was able to have that mentor.
Wow, that is good. That's a blessing in itself,
Yes. It was very helpful with me in coming up with this change in my life to go for the certification.
That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so when looking for a certification, I know you said you wanted to change your career.
Mm-hmm.
How did you obtain a certification? Where does someone go to look for certifications? Like, what?
Yes. Honestly, what I did is I just so happened in my search, one of my friends, she actually her PMP, or Project Management Professional Certification. So I kind of knew of the organization that actually is the authority to grant you that. But for anyone else, I honestly would say I did my own Google searches too about it. I went on their website just to see. There's other organizations that can grant that certification, but I felt like the PMI, or the Project Management Institute, was the best one, and that it was global. It was a global certification, so I could go anywhere in the world and they will honor my certification. So that's why I chose the one that I did.
Okay, and that's a good point, that it's global, that it's transferable. I think like you see a lot of stuff now, especially when we're like we're still kind of staying at home, and you see a lot of different sponsors for certifications. Tell someone, or tell me, like you did your research, but it's so much out there. Like, how do you know if a program is a good certification program? Because you can get a certificate versus certification. Can you walk us through the process?
Yeah. So what I'll do is just so the folks at home can see. I always say, let me skip to this screen. So right here, it says certification versus certificate. First, you just got to understand what's the difference. So if you didn't know that there is a difference between getting a certification and getting a certificate. So I've gotten certificates through different programs. And all a certificate is just to say that it certifies that you actually did the learning. So you went through maybe a college or university, and at the end of the study that you did, the classes that you did, they'll hand you like a certificate and say, yep, you completed that. Now, a certification is where you not only take some classes, because sometimes certifications need some standard learning, but you actually applied with the authority, and then you actually took an assessment that you understood the material, and then you pass the assessment. And so the authority will grant you, hey, you passed this, we'll give you a number for your certification, and this is what you have to do to renew it. So I would say the research part of it is to know which one to go to, is, find out the different certifications for your industry. There's plenty of them. So like, for example, for maybe accounting or finance, there's someone who may want to be a CPA, or they want to be a CIA, or certified internal auditor. You have to figure out what's the best path for you and what your industry is asking of you. Is it going to help your career? Is it going to help you to go mobile, and not mobile, but upward mobility? That's what I want to say. So it's to figure out what works best for you, and then look at the different certification listings that they have, the time that it takes, the financial commitment, and then go from there in pursuing that.
That's a really good point, because I know, like, I'm even, like I told you before, I'm in my transition and I've been looking at a lot of certifications, and I have to do some classes to get some certificates in order for me to sit for this particular exam. And so
Mm-hmm.
that being said, I've been doing a lot of research, and people have been talking about having a career development learning plan. And I didn't know. I mean, I have a doctorate, and I might sound ignorant, but I'm going to allow somebody else needs to hear this, so I'm going to help them out. Okay.
Yes.
Once I was done with my doctorate, I was done. Right.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
But I'm learning every day that you still need to have that developmental plan, that training plan to get
Mm-hmm.
to that next level in your career, and what that may look like, because industries change. I mean,
Mm.
frequently. Right now we're in a part where everybody's changing. We don't know from day to day what's going on.
Right.
So that's a really good point. This is so good. I'm just so enjoying it. And so let me see some of the comments. Let me kind of
Yes.
thank you for joining, everybody who is watching, and thank you for those who are going to watch the replay. We have someone saying, yes, do your research. Certification should definitely be transferable and applicable to your role where you want to go. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
for sharing the information. Love the information that you're sharing. So just want to kind of share some of the comments that people are saying. So
Okay, perfect.
I see you're talking about certifications versus professional license, and certifications versus master's degree. Can you talk through that with us a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, I just talked about the certification versus a certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I talked about that one. And just so you guys know, I do have a certificate in event planning because it was something I really enjoyed doing. So, just so you guys know the process of that, I went and saw that locally here in Charlotte, that there was not only a program at UNC, or the University of North Carolina, but there was one at the local community college. And I just kind of weighed the cost of which one I wanted to do and the timetable. And I decided that I wanted to get that certificate at UNC Charlotte. It was a larger commitment in price and time commitment, but I felt that because of the industry leaders they were going to have there, I felt like that was a good one. And if I wanted to sit for other certifications, I actually had the hours of training and the volunteerism that I could sit for a certification. So a lot of times with certifications, they want you to have some type of education and contact hours in the industry or field you're looking for.
Yeah.
So professional licenses. So there is a difference. So with a professional license, they're actually issued out by a state agency. And where a certification is actually licensed out by maybe a professional society or some type of educational system. So something of that nature. So the difference is the issuing agency that's doing it. For example, a professional license could be like a real estate license. So that's not given out by a professional agency. That's for the state. And a registered nurse, they have to have a license to be a RN. So that's the difference. So it varies from state to state. So if you were to move to South Carolina or Georgia, you would probably have to get a license in that particular state. Now with certifications, it depends on the type of certification that you get. Mm-hmm. It can be nationally recognized here in the United States. However, you could go to Canada and they don't recognize that certification. Or there's certifications that you can get and it's recognized across the globe. And so if you were to move to a different country, they would accept that you have those credentials. So that's the difference between a certification and a professional license. And then lastly is when you're considering whether to get a master's degree or certification, I would say to take a step back and look at what your career objectives are. What are you really trying to do? For example, are you trying to get to the C-suite of your company where you actually are right there with the CEOs, CFOs, and all the OOOs, and going up the corporate ladder? So maybe a master's degree would probably be good for you. Are you trying to just advance to another level in management, or switching off to something, a subject matter expert in a particular part of your industry, so that you can say you have it? And then it's about what's your time and financial commitment Usually to study for a certification, it can come anywhere from 2 months to 6 months. It took me about 6 months to study for my certification, and that was 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I did not stop until I passed. I passed on the first try. That's a very hard test, I'm telling you. So it just depends on your time commitment and your financial commitment too. So getting a certification is probably, maybe a 5-figure type of investment where you're like, okay, anywhere from maybe $1,000 to upwards. That's class, exam fees, as well as any class materials, study materials you may have. Or if you have to write the test. So you just have to just see, what's it worth to you? So what's the count the cost of what you want, and that'll determine if you want a master's degree or not. I would say a master's is something you would do if you're trying to switch careers altogether or another field of study, because that'll allow you to have a master in that field. You can meet a new network, and the floor is yours to do what you will with that master. So I'll pause there. I know that was a lot. See if anyone had any questions.
Let's see. And I'm looking here. I don't see any questions. Someone said, yes, career goals, objectives. And you made a valid point. You talked about the cost, count up the cost in different areas or different arenas. Because that's one thing that I looked at. I'm like, okay, I already have student loans, right? So I'm not trying to add more.
I did the same thing, Maria. I was like, I do not have the capacity to go get a master's in this field of study. I said, but a certification is good. I can carve out 2 to 6 months of study. Class that I took for 3 days, for 8 hours a day. I can carve out time for that with my life, and put that studying in and be done, by the summer. And that's what I did. I said, and that can be done, and all I have to do is renew it every 3 years.
And see, that is so good. I think that people, sometimes we become complacent, or we can feel like there's not a next for us, but there's so many different opportunities to do this. And so I do have one question. So it says, how did you map out your costs and need for certification time, etc.? So how did you map that out? That's one question.
Okay, so what I did I have a full-time job, and at the time I didn't have any extracurricular activities that would take up my time after work. And so what I did was, I just looked up, what's the average time that it takes for someone to master this study, and kind of can know it frontwards and backwards. And then I asked people who actually passed the exam, especially from the classes that I took. Some people were on their second try or third try. I said, hey, what type of effort did you put into it? And so I actually just listened to what they said. And they're like, the only way you're going to pass it is if you take 3 hours a day, at the least 5 days a week. And so what I did was I said, okay, I'm not really good at studying at home. So I would go to Panera, and I would just go to Panera every day that I was going to study. And I studied for 3 hours, from maybe 7 to 10. And I would do that. I would do practice tests, and I worked better by myself. So I did it like that until I was ready to share my knowledge with someone and have maybe a partner that I can go back and forth with. And I figured out what my study tactics were. I'm an auditory listener, studier, and visual, and I have to write it down. So I just did all three so that the material could actually get inside of me, so I can actually know it and can spit it out verbatim.
Now that is very good. Like, I mean, you said a mouthful in there. I know even you did. Like, I'm learning, like, now as I've gotten older, a seasoned, studier, I had to adapt to new study habits. And so that's good that you had to use pretty much all your senses to get the information down. And then one thing too that you said about studying 3 hours a day. I know I had, like, when I studied for my board exam, I had a physician and a couple of pharmacists tell me, hey, look, when you're studying for this board exam, if the exam is 4 hours, then I need you to stay and sit and study for 4 hours, because I need you to be conditioned to sit there and take this test for 4 hours. And I was like, okay, I listened, but then when I was at the test, I saw so many people try to get up and they were fidgety, but I already had trained my body to sit there for 4 hours for this exam. You see what I'm saying? So
yes, and that's something to think about too. You brought up a very good point. Sometimes sitting down with the certifications for the test, it's hours. So you're in there with people who are looking for other licenses or professional certifications too. So you can be in there for 4 hours like I was and saw at least 3 or 4 waves of people come in, and you have to sit there and take the test, and all you get is a piece of paper and a pencil.
Right. Exactly. Like this board right here. Okay.
Yep. So that's good advice.
That's good. And so one thing you did say, you said, and I'm looking at my notes of people like, what is she looking at? I'm looking at my notes too, guys. Okay. Now you said that you're auditory learner. You had to write it down. You had to visually see it. So did you use cards? Did you use other study aids? Walk me through that.
So, what I did was, for the PMP, there's different study materials that you could use by different not agencies, but authors. The one that I chose actually had, not only did it give you a complimentary book that kind of goes with I guess I call it a technical manual. So let me back up. So for the PMP, they give you what they call the PMBOK, which is basically a technical manual of all the areas of study so that you can know everything about project management. And I think it's like a phone book, just so you can visualize what it looks like. So you need to know that whole phone book in a multiple choice test. And so reading the technical manual, that was great, but I needed some extra aids. And so the one that I chose actually had not only a book that went along with it, but it had like a map that could map out visually what the concepts were. And it actually had a CD where the authors of the book were just talking shop about project management. And some of the imagery that they used actually helped me in thinking about, that's what that concept meant. So I just had to connect the dots, and I just listened to that CD. I didn't listen to music for months. Project management till I started dreaming about it.
That's good. And so with that being said, how has this really affected your career, like getting your PMP? How did that?
So, one of the things I was looking for in my corporate career was advancement in position and monetary advancement. And so, I got my PMP in 2017. And so once I got my PMP, one of the things that it does is that there's a certain threshold of dollar amounts that I can now ask for, because I was like, listen, I have experience and I have a certification. So now you guys are going to pay me my 6-figure salary. Okay, I'm ready. And so what happened is that, once I got the PMP, I would apply for positions. The group that I currently was in, I think they celebrated it too, but it wasn't until I went to that next job that I got the promotion in my position, and they actually paid me whatever amount that I was asking for plus some, because I was actually certified in it. I had the experience, and it just kind of made the difference. So I didn't even think the company could do that. I was like, wow, I didn't even know you could make a jump like that, but I did.
But that's good. That's good right there. So for those of you guys who are watching this and you're like, I don't know, this time commitment. I mean, you really went through like a 6-figure salary getting a certification, and that matters. I know we have one question said, how did you update your resume, showcase your merit for PMP? How does that resume update look?
So what I ended up doing for my resume, because I had, what I shared with you guys is that a little earlier in the program, is that I actually had about 10 years of financial planning and analysis experience. And now, current to date, I have about 7 years experience doing like project management consultant type work, as well as maybe risk and all that stuff. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that future employers can really see the functionality that I've done in my roles. And so I worked with I actually hired someone to redo my resume because I wanted to make sure I had an executive looking resume, not the kind that you can get on Word, the templates that they have out there, but I wanted something that looked how I know I am. So I went ahead and hired someone and we worked through it. And I said, I really feel like a functional resume would work because I want to highlight, the roles that I did in change management, the roles that I did in project management, just strategy work that I've done. And I even added some of the work I've done in volunteerism that as it related to functions that a corporation would be looking for, like nonprofit companies that I, help volunteer with. I put that in there. I put everything.
Right.
And, made sure I had an executive summary. And so that's what I did to help get me to the next level is that I don't want you to see just what I did chronologically, which that makes sense in some type of professions, but I was looking to go to the next level. So I just need to make sure that they saw the skill sets that they were looking for in the job the rec.
Yeah, and that's profound. Look, I'm taking notes myself, right? Because it's so important, especially when you're in a field where you are talented in multiple areas, like you multifaceted, so to speak. And so just for you to say that, even highlighting like volunteerism and what you did for different volunteer organizations, a nonprofit organization, that really looks good. Carmika said that makes sense to get a resume consultant, include an executive summary. And I like the fact that you wanted your resume to look like an executive. That's the teaching point in itself.
Mm-hmm.
You want to look like the position you're going out for. So that's really good.
And I got a professional headshot as well. So I went and hired someone to do professional headshots. So, not something I did in the bathroom, which I had before. I actually hired someone to take some professional headshots so that I can use that on my LinkedIn profile or even a company profile if it was an internal networks too.
That's good. That is so good. Let me see. It's so much here. Like I'm trying to make sure I answer because I know people know I usually like to stop on time, but I'm like, man, it's so rich in information because I truly believe that this is really going to change somebody's trajectory in their career. And I want to just make sure I cover all the bases and some things. You talked about getting certified from the right organization. We talked about different programs. Is there anything else you would like us to know that you feel like that is pertinent to why certifications matter? Because I don't want to leave anything.
Yeah, I do. And then for those who are looking on the screen, I just went to the slide here to give you 5 reasons why I think certifications matter. And I think between Maria and I think we've covered these, but I just want to make sure that we close with this and can talk about it together, Maria, if you're open to it. But the first thing is it's that it provides you some credibility. So, if you're going to an employer or even if you have a business, they can actually see that a third party who's impartial, endorsed that and are proficient in a body of work. And so they can see that, it takes dedication to pass and get a certification. You can ask anyone who's done it. It's a lot of work, a dedication, and you have to know your stuff to pass. I put mobility here. So we mentioned this earlier, but certifications are transferable. So that means that you can get a certification and you could leave your company that you're going to go to another company. You can start a business. It doesn't matter. That certification comes with you. So there are certifications that you can get internal to a company, but the majority of them are kind of individually independent of corporations. And those are the ones you probably want to go for if you're looking to kind of go into different companies or industries. Like I mentioned before, the growth potential. So your earning potential can can go up, as well as your upward mobility if you're looking for promotion in a corporation. And then, Maria, I think you mentioned this, but stay ahead of the competition. Like, you can, by getting a certification, it requires you to actually renew it every whatever years it takes. Sometimes it's annual, sometimes the one I have is every 3 years. So that means that you have to keep up with the current trends and technology that are happening in your industry, laws that can impact your industry. You have to kind of keep up with that stuff when you have a certification so that you can renew it. So it kind of keeps you ahead of the game and reading stuff so you don't just do a one and done, but you're always continuing to learn. And then the best one I say for last is your network can expand. And when you go get a certification, not only the people that you meet in your classes, but the actual agency that gives it out usually has chapters. That's what I found. Organization. Yeah, sometimes they have chapters in your city, or if they don't, there's always some type of sister organization that kind of goes along with it. I saw that in project management, and I even saw that when I was looking at event planning. There was a whole bunch of them. I had no clue that they had not only professional certifications in event planning, but they had chapters where people meet. And so when you get kind of plugged into that, you not only expand your network with professionals of all levels, but you get education, and you just never know where your next job opportunity can come from, or business opportunity can come from, by just attending those events and being participating in those organizations by volunteerism. So I'll just kind of close with that and see if you had any questions.
Man, this is so good. Like, it's so good. Because even like I realized, because we were talking the other day briefly, and we were saying, I see all these certifications just keep on popping up. Like, it's just it's visible now. And I like the quote, and I don't remember who I heard this from. They said, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. So just this right here is going to help so many people, including myself, because you're going to a new level in your career, like especially in the industry that I'm in. People don't really realize that pharmacy is saturated. Like, you're like, wait, you went to school for 6 years, you went to school for 8 or whatever, and and it's saturated. So how do you set yourself apart from the competition? And this right here is going to help so many people in their own career, even as businesses close, as things change, as people are being like furloughed. This is an opportunity to go ahead and get certification. So I appreciate this. This is really good. My last question for you is, how will people get in contact with you if they want to like connect and ask more questions?
Yeah, so I'm gonna, on the presentation, I have it here. So I'm just like you guys. So I would love for you guys to connect with me on LinkedIn. I put my information below here. And Maria is going to send out this deck so you can have just something to take away and can click the link directly to get to me. But just send me a message. I would love to connect. Maybe we can have an offline conversation if you want to talk to me over the phone. I'm a phone person, but I also do messages. So yeah, contact me through LinkedIn. It's the best way.
Yes. Good. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. This will be out within the next 24 to 48 hours, where you're going to get the deck and you're going to get the replay for those who have subscribed to our newsletter as well. So thank you again for joining us.
Yes. Oh, it was my pleasure. And thanks, everybody. It's been such an honor to talk with Maria and talk with you guys.
All right, guys. Until next time, remember, today is the first day to the rest of your life. All right. Bye.
Bye, everyone.